5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello, welcome to Seokbangnam's Seminary lecture series. The topic that we're going to deal with this series is called Antioch Christians and Christology. And today I'd like to begin the lecture by introduction of why we study history. Because after all, it is a history that makes us who we are and where we are heading. So it is important that we learn history. Why we study history? Because our knowledge is a residue of past. The present is very brief, and when a word has been spoken, it is already history. See, people live mainly in past, but God is eternal. We study history because it helps us understand present situation as it emerges from the past. Like national boundaries and attitude of people are results or direct result of history. In Korea, it is divided by north and south. There's a boundary between two Koreas. Why? It is because in 1950 there was a Korean War that fought between North and South Korea, along with the United Nations Armed Forces. What about the attitude of the people? It's a direct result of the history. People love and people hate because we are the product of history. Then who is historian? You and I, in a sense, we're historian. We're a backward-looking prophet. So we go forward because we know what happened in the past. But we have to understand that history never finishes. We are just one speck in a line of history. You know, someone once said, we live in two parentheses. Within the parentheses, we have birthday, and then we have the date of our death. So we are just a speck in the whole range of history. So we have to be humble before the history. While we learn history, it is on the basis of the past we can anticipate future and capacity to logical judgment. In simply saying, we have to learn the history in order to make our sound and right judgment. The more history that you have or you know, you can make a better, more certain judgment. But we're not talking about fortune telling or what's going to happen in the future. We just know how and when to act boldly, courageously. See, history is like a river. It continuously cutting into what has been already been cut. And why we learn history? Because it contributes to capacity for balanced judgment and courage to look at the reality in the face. Right now, in the whole wide world, we are facing coronavirus pandemic. Many people said, we never anticipated this kind of worldwide pandemic. But if you learn history, there were several pandemics and plagues throughout the history. there was a big black plague called Black Death. It was caused by some kind of virus that swept throughout the Europe. Black Death. It was a kind of pandemic at the time in Europe. So if you know the history, you know how you can relate the pandemic as well. It is a very unfortunate time for us to live in right now, but like a lot of people says, we can get through this. The end will come and we can move on as a human kind. If you know the history, you can avoid mistakes. Well, I'm not saying that we never make mistake. We will make mistake, but we are likely make less mistakes because based on the history that we know and understand. Without the history, we are prone to make mistakes over and over. But if you know the history, it will happen less likely. And if you know the history, you take your life seriously. Without history, you are bound to make a lot of mistakes. But if you know the history, you will take your life more seriously because you know what happened in the past and what will going to happen in the future as well. Winston Churchill once said during the World War II, we won the war with history. That's a grand statement. He knew that the truth will triumph over the falsehood. He understood that goodness will prevail over evil. Throughout the history, no matter what, the truth and goodness always prevailed. So I'd like to welcome you to our lecture series on Antioch Christians and Antiochian Christology that happened during the 5th century AD. And I hope that you will come on board with us and learn the Eastern Christianity in the past. And hopefully this will also teach us appreciate the beauty of not only Christianity, but the different branches of Christianity on the whole. So once again, welcome to Seokbamnon Seminary lecture series, and hope that you will join us next week. God bless. Thank you.